Hello friends, Miss Amanda here from the Wilmington Public Library, and today I am going to read you a very special book, The Spring Equinox. I think it's very important that everybody of all ages knows what the Spring Equinox is all about, because everybody in the entire world celebrates the Spring Equinox, and we're going to learn that in this book. What does equinox mean? Well, it is a Latin word that means equal to day and night, which we'll learn in this book as well. The Spring Equinox lands on March 20th. And this year it's on a Sunday, and usually people make flower headdresses, have bonfires. We celebrate the rebirth of the land, the rebirth of flowers, everything. So let's get to it, shall we? The Spring Equinox. Have you ever wondered what causes the seasons? Scientists have shown that the seasons are caused by the tilt of the Earth's axis in relation to the sun. When the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, the northern part of the world receives more hours of sunlight, and the people in the northern hemisphere experience summer. In the winter, the opposite is true. The northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun and receives fewer hours of sunlight. But on 2 days each year, the fall and the spring equinoxes, day and night of equal length, the earth is tilted neither toward nor away from the sun. The word equinox comes from a Latin word that means time of equal days and night. The spring equinox occurs in the 3rd week of March. This special day marks the beginning of spring in the northern hemisphere. Look at that bluebird. I'm going to apologize in advance for some of the Russian words and Latin words. I don't speak Russian, and there's a lot of Russian words in here. Spring is a happy, hopeful season in most parts of the world. Lemon yellow daffodils and white and pink tulips push upward towards the sun. The woods are filled with the sweet smell of damp earth, and birds are busy building nests. People today know that spring follows winter as surely as night follows day. But thousands of years ago, ancient people feared that winter months, when food was scarce and the earth seemed to be asleep, everyone worried that the sun might slip beneath the horizon and never return. That would be scary. At the time of the spring equinox, when the days lengthened and the sun grew stronger, people were relieved. They knew that the flowers would bloom again and the crops would grow once more. Aww. This is some good illustration. I like that. I like the bluebird. Long ago, on the first day of spring, in the ancient city Chichen Itza, In what is now Mexico, a crowd of people gathered at the Great Pyramid. They had come to watch the Mayan priests perform an important fire ceremony. The crowd fell silent as the priests prayed to Mother Earth and the Father Sun. Then all eyes turned to the north stairwell of the pyramid, and everybody waited. As the sun edged its way towards the horizon, the shadow looked like a snake begin to glide down the steps of the pyramid. At sunset, the shadow touched a stone, carved serpent head at the bottom of the pyramid. The people gasped. The shadow and the serpent's head had become one. As surely as the snake shed its skin, spring would transform the earth. The forces of life would beat back the dark forces of winter. Poetry. Sheer poetry. Ancient peoples such as the Mayans believed that without special ceremonies, the earth would remain dead and barren. In many parts of the world, spring was a time of planting and sowing, hard work. But the spring equinox was also a time of joy. During the festivals in Rome, people celebrated the coming of spring with music and merriment. Rome children took part in the festival along with the adults. The children wound garlands of flowers around themselves and decorated the temples to Flora, goddess of flowering plants. Then they danced around the columns singing songs of praise. That looks like a good time. In Europe during the Middle Ages, people thought they needed to help the forces of spring conquer the forces of winter. Villagers gathered around bonfires, singing and dancing and leaping through the flames. Dancers accompanied by jingle bells attempting to awaken the earth. The dancers would leap as high as they could, hoping the grain would grow as tall as their leaps. In some villages, a mock battle between summer and winter was acted out. Summer was represented by a man dressed in leaves and flowers. Summer would always defeat winter, which was represented by a man dressed in straw. In England, the fight between summer and winter became a football game between two teams. In other places, such as Ludlow, Shropshire, the battle was in the form of a tug-of-war with thousands of people taking part. Wouldn't that be a sight to see? Let's just all dress up and act out winter and summer battle. Native Americans also performed ceremonies to welcome the spring. The Plains Cree horned the first berries of the first season. The berries were placed in a bowl, and Manitou, the Great Spirit, was thanked for his gifts. Then the bowl was raised to the sky, and the sun was called upon to ripen the berries. The thunder was asked to send rain. Finally, the bowl was lowered, and the earth was asked to send forth fruit for her children. In Russia, Maslenissa was celebrated of the returning light. Games, contests, horse races were part of the festivities. Houses and barns were clean and decorated. Everyone ate big round pancakes that represent the brightly shining sun. And I'm pretty sure that's where spring cleaning comes from. So if your parents always say, let's get rid of the clothes that don't fit you or the toys that you don't play with, let's just do a little spring cleaning. Let's clean the windows from the winter. Everybody around the world sure knew how to celebrate the spring equinox. The Jewish holiday of Passover began as an ancient spring festival. Later, it became a time to remember the fight of the Jews from slavery in Egypt. Today, at the beginning of Passover, Jews prepare a special dinner called Seder. At Seder, the story of the Jews' escape from Egypt is retold. People sing Passover songs and eat special foods. The food stands for different parts of the story. That includes matzu and dry bread made without yeast, and a sweet mixture from apples, nuts, and honey, and wine and bitter herbs, and hard-boiled eggs dipped in salt water. The Passover story reminds everyone that joy can follow sorrow, and that winter will always be followed by spring. Kind of like the saying, you can't have light without dark or dark without light. You need both. In Iran, the 13th day, the Irani festival of Nowruz began the week before the Spring Equinox, which means new day. It is a time of hope and renewal. Houses are clean, furniture is repaired, fresh flowers are brought indoors, cookies and sweets are presented to the older members of the family, children receive coins or cash. The day of the Spring Equinox is also the day of the Irani New Year, which families celebrate the New Year by preparing a special table. 7 items that begin with the letter S in the Persian language are placed on the table. These items represent happiness and good fortune for the new year. It is considered bad luck to remain at home on the 13th day of Nowruz. Almost everyone spends the day outdoors enjoying a picnic with family and friends. Many Easter customs from Old World. Eggs have always seemed magical and mysterious to people. An egg is a hard, unmoving object, but with a crack, a tiny live creature can emerge from it. Eggs were honored, decorated, dyed in exchange by many ancient people. Like the egg, the rabbit is a sign of springtime and fertility. probably because rabbits are especially active in the spring and produce many young at that time. It was a custom in Germany for children to build a nest in the field, in the garden in which the Easter hare would lay its colored eggs. When the German immigrants settled in North America, they brought this custom with them. I used to live in Germany and they were really big on this. Some parts of the world do not experience seasonal changes in the weather. Even in these places, people celebrate the fertility of the earth at special times of the year. The Bambara of Mali in Africa are farmers who work hard to grow rice and peanuts for their families. At planting time, men wearing male and female antelope headdresses perform a special dance. The dancers bend their heads as if to scoop up the earth with their horns. The purpose of this ancient dance is to honor and encourage the farmers who hoe the fields. Not all spring holidays are celebrated today have ancient origins. In 1969, former Senator Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin decided a special day was needed to remind people to protect our environment. On April 22nd, 1970, the first Earth Day was held. Earth Day helps us to remember, love, and care for the earth and our fellow creatures. It is celebrated in spring, a time when the precious beauty of earth is most apparent. The spring equinox is a time of beauty, and it is also a time of balance. It is not quite summer yet, but not really winter anymore either. It is a time when the world stands between two seasons. It is a time to walk in balance with nature and to look for the future. That's very beautiful. This is my favorite story about Ostara, a spring story. This is Ostara. Ostara is the goddess of Easter and spring. Easter may have been named for the Anglo-Saxon goddess of the dawn and springtime. Ostara, not much is known about this goddess. One legend says that she was always accompanied by a magical hare who could lay eggs. The following story is adapted from the myth about this goddess. Long ago, when the world was young, Ostara, the goddess of spring, walked across the land. As she walked, green and growing things sprung from her footsteps. Ostara seated herself on a rock, and a group of children would gather around her. Ostara loved to make the children happy. She touched a rose bush, and it bloomed. Then she would snap her fingers, and a cloud of butterflies appeared out of nowhere. The children would laugh and clap their hands. "Look, look," cried a boy. He pointed to something brown in the grass. There, beside the child, was a bird. Her wings had frozen in the last snowstorm of winter, and she was dying. Oh, cried the children. It is so sad. Can you help her? I will try, said Ostara. Ostara cupped the bird in her hands. When she opened them, the bird had turned into a healthy rabbit. The children jumped up and down for joy. But when the children looked at the rabbit, they saw her face was just full of sorrow. The rabbit knew she could no longer sing. She could no longer lay eggs, and she could no longer fly above the clouds to escape her enemies. She was afraid. 2 big tears rolled down the furry face. Change her back, cried the children. She doesn't want to be a rabbit. Let her be a bird again. It cannot be undone, said Ostara. That is the way of magic. But I will give the rabbit a gift. On the first day of spring each year, she will lay her eggs. Then she will bring them to all the children of the world, for it was the children who saved her. What if a fox catches her? Asked a little girl. She cannot fly. No fox will catch her. She will sail across the sky. For most of the year, the rabbit will live on the moon and be happy and safe from her enemies. And so it was. Even today, if you look up at the sky, you may see rabbit on the moon. And if you listen with your heart of a child, you will hear a faint, rabbity song wafting on the breeze, far, far away. So I guess your question as to why rabbits can't lay eggs is rabbits can lay eggs because the Easter rabbit used to be a bird. This was such a good story. See? The moon. The end. I hope you all liked learning about the ancient times. I know some, like the Christian religion, they celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, and that's how they celebrate it. I don't know very much about all the religions. This was just a book about ancient religions. I know a lot of people have go to church for Easter Sunday, and if you would like to know more about Easter religions, come to the library and check out some books. When we think about springtime, we think about all the beautiful colors, don't we? I think that's why we paint our Easter eggs a whole bunch of different colors, because you have all the flowers outside. Flowers from trees begin to bloom, your garden begins to grow, your farm animals begin to get their feathers and their new fur, and they start to look beautiful. Springtime is a wonderful time. I hope you enjoyed the story time, and Saturday at the library we will be making some Spring Equinox crafts. So call us up at the Wilmington Public Library and get on that list to sign up for our craft day. Until next time, friends. Bye.